Hello, everyone. Today we're talking about how to do market research like a pro, talking to your customers and, not letting people lie to you. So, this is going to be based on a book called The Mom Test by Rob Fitzpatrick. And the book is actually titled How to Talk to Customers and Learn If Your Business is a Good Idea When Everyone is Lying to You. So, it's like, oh, cut through it. But I think this is very important when you are doing market research. First things first, my name is Fopsy.ca. I'm a business coach. I help entrepreneurs and service providers focus on their money making priorities. Today's episode is all about one of the most important steps in building a business, which is market research. And let's be clear, we're not talking about surveys or just using, analytics to figure out what is happening. We're talking about real conversations, getting out there and actually talking to your potential customers. This topic was sparked by a current client of mine who's working as a data consultant, but she's looking to build a marketing analytics consultancy. And she's deep into data. She sees businesses leaving money on the table based on not really understanding their customers or not doing what people customers really want, or really not going beyond the basics when it comes to working with your customers. And so she wants to fix that. But before she can fix that, she needs to figure out how big this problem is. And that starts with talking to the right people. So this one's for USA, but also for everybody else who's listening. In this episode, we'll be diving into the best ways to conduct market research based on the mom test, like by Rob Fitzpatrick, like I said. And this book has been a game changer for me. I've actually talked about it in a previous episode where it was like a 2 minute episode. So this one's going to be a bit longer. I will be sharing key takeaways that will help you learn if your business idea is a hit or if you need some adjustments. Let's get into it. So, the very first thing you need to do is have the right attitude. What does the right attitude for customer conversations mean? It means your mindset needs to be in the right place. One of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make is that they focus too much on getting people to say nice things about their business idea. Yes, you want validation, you want people to, believe in it, but you don't want to be friend zoned by your customers, right? And that's one of the key ideas from the mom test. Stop talking about your idea and start talking about the lives of your customers. That's where you get the best data from. Why? Because when you pitch your idea, especially to friends or family, they're more likely to tell you what they think you want to hear. That doesn't mean, you know, it doesn't really help you. It doesn't mean that that's the real truth, right? What you need is to really know the truth, the reality of your potential customers' problems and frustrations, and be able to use that to decide if you found the right problem to solve or if you need to dig deeper, or even go to a different audience. And so you need to learn the truth about your potential customers' problems and frustrations. That's the only way to know if your business can truly offer a solution that they will pay for. Remember, if your mom can't accidentally lie to you about your business idea, you're asking the right questions. That means that if you're normally your mom wants to say, oh, you're doing great, right? But if you ask the right questions, you'll find out about the real problems that they're having about their lives. So you want to make it in such a way that you're asking the right questions. Okay, so now you've gotten your mindset right and you know that you have to ask the right questions. How do you prepare for the conversation? Preparing starts by calling this a chat. It's important that it's not a meeting, it's a chat. And that helps you, not be overly formal. This is not a presentation. Think of it like having coffee with a friend. And you really need to think about them as a friend, because I know that when it comes to talking to customers, people often struggle with being natural. Like when we tell people to be natural and they just like fall apart essentially. So think of it like having a conversation with your friend. And some things that can help you do this, right? This is a bit of a quick checklist to do your homework and come to these conversations ready and to treat it like a real chat. Know who you're talking to. That's number one. You have to know who you're talking to. Look them up. Today is 2024, but maybe you'll be listening to this in the future. Check their LinkedIn, check their blog, look on their social media. You don't have to be a stalker, but you need to know enough to ask the right questions. I was with a friend over the weekend and he was just lamenting about how somebody booked a coffee chat with him and they're asking where he went to school or what he does for work. And it's like you could have found that on LinkedIn. And it's really frustrating because it feels like you're wasting your person's time. So please do some basic research, right? That's number one. Know who you're talking to. Number two is understand the problem you're investigating. If you're researching a particular issue, like my client is looking into businesses who are ignoring their marketing data, you need to know the landscape. Get a feel for what's out there in terms of solutions that exist, right? So that you can also kind of, allow them have a point of reference if it comes up, right? And know what they might be using. If you mention a software, let it be something that you also take back and go and research so that your next conversation is even better because now you know what's happening. But do your own research to know the lay of the land first of all, so that you have some ideas of who the other players are. Number three is frame the conversation. This is key. Start by letting them know you're an entrepreneur, you're researching this problem, and you'd love to their help in understanding it better. Let me say that again. Start by letting them know that you are an entrepreneur, you're researching this problem, and you'd love their help in understanding it better. I kind of say this as like you have to lead the conversation. Even though this isn't a full on sales conversation, it kind of is one. And so, like, you need to start showing those leadership skills of helping them know what to expect so that they're not just like, okay, we're just talking. I don't know what's going to happen because they don't really know you as well, right? So it's okay to review your weaknesses. You don't know what you don't know and review that you want to learn. And that's why you're here. Be upfront that it's discovery, not selling, because that's what you're doing. It's market research. Remember, you're trying to prepare so that you can have a easier, smoother conversation. You don't have to have it all perfect. You don't need to script this. You don't need to have a script you're reading through. In fact, you should not have a script you're reading through because that's not what happens in a chat. But you need to go in with a clear focus and have a few good questions. Okay, now we got to the gold, asking the right questions. So the third part is thinking of the right questions, and this is where that book, The Mom Test, really shines. Here are a few principles that can guide you in asking the right questions. Talk about your life, not your idea. You're going to struggle with this one because you feel like, okay, I want to talk about this idea, help them ask if it's a good idea, but that's exactly what you should not do. You want to ask about their life. You're not pitching, you're learning. Ask questions about their experiences, their frustrations, and how they currently solve the problem that you're interested in. I'm going to give you some actual questions to ask, but just think about this first. Focus on their life, not your idea. Focus on the past, not the future. What this means is that people lie when they guess about the future. It's not like they try to lie, but you don't know the future. So when whether they realize it or not, they're lying about the future. So don't ask, would you use this app? Ask instead, how did you solve this problem the last time? You want to know what they've done. Past behavior is a good predictor of the future. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but anyways, you want to ask about the past essentially. So don't let them be guessing about the future. Get to the pain points. What's causing them stress or wasting their time? What are they currently doing that is not working? You want to know the pains. Let them describe it. That's why they cannot lie because you're asking about their reality. So they're just going to tell you as it is, which is what you want to know. You want to capture the raw data, the actual words they're saying, not your conclusions about the words they're saying. So write it down. That will also be important in how you describe your solution because you want to use the words from the people that you're hearing in your marketing, in your describing the problem, all of that. Okay, here are some actual questions to ask, right? Ready? If you didn't have a notepad out, bring one out now. What is the hardest part about problem for you? Right? What is the hardest part about insert problem for you? That's number one. Number two, can you tell me about the last time you had that problem? That problem, you should replace it with whatever the problem thing is, right? Can you tell me about the last time you had that problem? Number three, why was that frustrating? Right? That's the third question. Why was that frustrating? Number four, how do you currently solve problem? Very important to know how they currently solve it. It also tells you somebody says they have a problem, they've had it for 20 years, they haven't solved it. Is it really a problem or something they've gotten used to? And it's something they really want to fix. People should already be taking steps to solve their problems, is kind of where um, I'm going at. It might not be perfect, but they should be taking some action. Number five is what do you wish you could do about insert problem but can't? Now you're getting their words. Write it down if you can. If you can record it so that you have the actual words. But I mean, don't share it or anything like that. And you can also let them know you're recording it. And if you're doing it virtually, there's so many AI tools now that can record your meetings. And even in Google Meet, you can just turn on recording. I don't know if that's a paid feature, but I have it. Anyways, number six is have you ever paid for a solution to this? Why or why not? Very important question. Ask it, right? Why not? Then you can learn about their motivations. People really don't know that they're lying, but they're lying, like because you can't really act like you want to know what they've done. If they say something is a problem, what have you done to fix that problem so far, right? Let's know if it's a real problem. These types of questions get a real behavior. Real behavior, very important to note that phrase. These types of questions get at real behavior, not hypothetical stuff, not what would you do, but what they've actually done, which is important and helps you learn. This is less fluffy stuff, right? The goal is to gather facts about what people actually do, not what they think they might do in the future. So this helps you to get at, specifics. Okay. So you can always rewind or go back to get the questions again, but I think you have gotten a good flow of things. The next part is equally important. It's moving from conversation to commitment. What does this mean? Once you start getting some good insights, you eventually need to shift from discovery mode to commitment mode. So, discovery, you're finding about the problems. Commitment, you are trying to get to know if they'll actually be willing to pay for this. And this is how you ask. So, the difference between talking to a zombie customer, someone who is just stringing you along with polite nods, and talking to someone who is actually interested is commitment, right? So, you want to know the difference. To avoid getting friend zoned by potential customers, you need to start asking for real commitments. To avoid getting friend zoned by potential customers, you need to start asking for real commitments. What are real commitments? It doesn't all have to be money. It's commitment of time, money, or reputation. So three things: time, money, or reputation. So the questions you can ask to get at real commitments are things like: would they introduce you to someone else? Like who else? Oh, thank you. This has been a great conversation. Is there anyone you can introduce me to? Is there one person you can introduce me to that I can have this kind of conversation with to learn more? Is there someone on your team that makes purchasing decisions about things like this that I can speak with? I just kind of added those ones. It's not from the book, so take it as you will. So first is, would they introduce you to someone else? That's them risking their reputation, right? So if they cannot risk their reputation, maybe it's not really a good idea and they just been polite all through. Will they spend time testing your product or prototype? That could look like if you have a product built, would they be willing to spend an hour going through it? When you have an actual offer, would they be willing to revisit this? Things like that. Are they willing to pay for a solution? Right? So ask these questions and get the answers. Also note non-verbal cues. Maybe they're struggling to find an answer for you, right? So commitment, again, can be time, money, or reputation. They're all indicators that someone is really serious about your solution. Otherwise, they're just being polite. And you want to get real responses, not deal with zombie customers. Okay. So part five is final tips for market research conversations, things that help you to bring the conversation to life. So here are some more practical tips from the book, The Mom Test. Don't rely on opinions, rely on actions. It's not about whether people say they like your idea. It's whether they'd actually use it or recommend it to others. That's actual indicator. And I've learned this the hard way in business. People can say all sort of things, not because they mean to lie, but because we're wired to be polite humans, right? And we want to appeal to and appease people. So rely on actions. If they don't buy it, they don't share it, they don't use it, they don't really need it. Anyways, use warm introductions to your advantage. Once you've had a few good chats, ask if they know anyone else you should talk to. See, I knew I was having a good idea earlier when I mentioned it. This snowball effect can lead to more and more warm conversations, and then it means that you have to pitch less and do less cold calls. So, cold calls are kind of like the beginning stages, and it's okay if you get ghosted or ignored a few times. Almost everyone who does cold calls gets those, so just get used to it and chug it along. You won't remember when you're rich, right? Think about that. Okay. Okay. Use warm introductions to your advantage. So once you've had a few good chats, ask if you know anybody else you should talk to, and then it leads to even more conversations. And now these are warmer conversations because they will introduce you to those people. The third thing is immerse yourself in your customer's world. Okay, this is huge. If your audience is going to meetups, conferences, events, be there, right? So you can't expect them to always come to you. And this is one of the key principles of my coaching. Like direct conversations, networking, referrals are one of the quickest and most effective ways to is the quickest and most effective way to get customers fast. So immerse yourself in their world. If there's a Facebook group, they are, go there. If there's a Reddit group, they are, go there. If there's an in-person conference or meetup, they are, go there. Don't just expect them to come to you magically, right? The fourth thing is write everything down. After each chat, it's a chat, not a meeting, take notes, focus on raw data, what they actually said, their actual quotes, write them down and not conclusions. If you're struggling to stay present and take notes, ask if you have an AI note taker. You can have it to say, hey, I just have this AI tool that takes notes for me so I can focus on the conversation. And most people are fine with it. They used to be fascinated by it before, but now they're kind of used to it. So it's like, yeah, whatever. So that's also helpful. And the tools can be free. I use Otter. It's free for up to 300 minutes, I believe, per month. And there's others like Fireflies, I think. There's a bunch of others, but I really like Otter, like OTTER.ai. That's not sponsored, but maybe one day. Anyways, so don't focus on your own conclusions about what they said. Focus on what they actually said. Don't try to summarize everything into one big lesson, right? Look for patterns over time. And sometimes you talk to one person, another, you start to see patterns. If you're not seeing patterns, it might mean you are not talking to enough people in the same narrow niche. It might mean that you're having a really broad range of types of people, and you might need to slice thinner, go narrower, essentially, is what I'm trying to say in who you're talking to. Okay. Another part to now focus on is part six, the pitch and closing. So we've talked about market research and you know how to do market research by talking to your customers. So you can see that it's really valuable to have these conversations because you really learn. And when you ask the right questions and frame it the right way, you learn not about what people will hypothetically do, but what they're actually doing. It's not really about selling upfront. It's about learning what your customers needs and what they really need rather. It's not about selling upfront, it's about learning what your customers really need. And speaking of learning, if you're working on a business idea and struggling to gain traction, or you are a solo entrepreneur, a service provider, and you are looking to get more clients, my Money Making Priorities coaching program is designed exactly for people like you. I work with service providers and entrepreneurs to help them get focused on the activities that lead to real revenue, aka growing the money. If you're ready to get out of the friend zone with customers and start closing deals, we should chat, right? Book a sales call with me at Fopsy.ca/call. Fopsy is spelled FOPSY.ca/call. And let's figure out what's holding you back from making sales. You can find the link in the show notes as well. Thanks for listening. Now, that's it for today's episode. But make sure to subscribe, leave a review if you're listening on the podcast platform. If you're listening on YouTube, watching on YouTube, looking at my lovely face, leave a comment and tell me it was helpful. Let me know what was helpful. Do same in reviews, please, so that we can have more reviews and people can know we're legit and sharing good gems. And if this was helpful, please share it with anyone who's trying to build a business based on real customers' needs. I'll see you on the next episode where we'll be diving actually deeper into how to get 5 customers in 12 weeks, which is the core of my program promise in money making priorities. And we'll be getting into the mindset and external beliefs about the external conditions and the vehicle of direct outreach that are keeping people stuck. So until then, stay focused on your money making priorities and let's get this money. I'm Fapa Nkwacha, and it's been great chatting with you today. Bye bye.